Greetings, and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast whose test for the legal drinking age is a 10-part questionnaire about RPGs from the 8-bit era. It boasts a 100% accuracy rate. This episode, we're keeping it light and breezy with an overview of the different RPG options to beat the summer heat. I am your host, and the man who's played enough tactics titles to last a lifetime, David Lloyd. And joining me this evening is news editor at Nintendo World Report, and man who's aced all trivia-based tests and competitions, Mr. Donald Terrio.
Thanks for having me, and tomorrow I cross out of into an age where I become the really old man in the RPG.
So, big birthday tomorrow?
35. So officially out of the demographic that advertisers care about.
I mean, I guess I've been out of it for a couple years now.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel much different on this side, let me tell you. It just feels like I can wave my cane into the air more often than I should.
You can be the one who's yelling at the clouds all the time.
With the good old days. And we'll be joined in a little bit by NWR Reviews editor, Mr. Jordan Rudek. He's trying to locate a sugary drink for this evening, so once he's found one, he'll probably pop in a little bit, so we may have him along for the ride. But before we get to tonight's topic, Donald, do you have a drink that you're partaking at the Thirsty Mage?
Well, although it looks like yours might be more appropriate for this week here, I'm just partaking in the traditional alcoholic drink of people who don't want to drink alcohol too much, the grape knee-high.
I'm going with, I was looking for something with the summer and playing some Fire Emblem Three Houses with Dimitri there. I went for a strong blonde ale. So I picked up Celebraton. I hope that's the correct way to say it in French.
Celebrante?
That is Celebrante. Yeah, that's what I've been here 12 years and I still haven't picked up the language yet. So Celebrante, that's from Brasseur du Mont. Like I said, it's a strong blonde ale. It's 7%, so it's actually a little bit lower than the strong as advertised. But it's fermented with champagne yeast, and it's brewed for significant moments in life, and has mellow notes of wildflower honey and subtle flavors of pear, orange, and lemon. And it just seems like a summer beer, so I'm partaking in that tonight and enjoying it. So.
Yeah, sounds like an interesting one. Is that from like a brewery over on the Quebec side, or is it something you got on the Ontario side of the border there?
No, this one's a Quebec microbrewery. They sell it in the local IGA, so it's easy enough to find, which is good. And they actually make a few different beers that I've done. They make a Big Ben Porter, which is one of my favorite porters. It's on the dark side, and it's got a very unique and nice flavor. So I'm a fan of the brewery itself. There's a couple others I know that I've had from it too that the names are escaping me, but it's a brewery that I keep my eye on. So they make good stuff, and they're usually winning those beer awards, those global beer awards. So their labels seem to stand out at the store when you got the big medallion on it saying they've won stuff. So, and I would have to say that they've earned their accolades.
Yeah, and I just realized that the show is going to be all Canadian tonight, so look forward to that.
That's right. Yeah, when Jordan gets here. Well, it's makes sense with to beat the summer heat. You have three cold Canadians. So. All right. Well, we'll kick off to this episode's topic du jour, which is again the RPGs that are available this summer. So the big one is obviously Fire Emblem Three Houses. We're actually not going to get into too much detail with Fire Emblem just because we will be having a spoiler cast in a couple of weeks. It might even be a multi-parter because there's the majority of the NWR staff is either in the midst of playing it or has finished it. So there's lots of people who can talk about their experience. It's also interesting that opinions on the game vary widely, so it'll be a lively debate when we do have the talk. But is there anything that you wanted to touch on, Donald, about Fire Emblem?
Well, because of a couple of other games that we'll talk about here, I haven't had as much time to put into Fire Emblem Three Houses as I wish I did. For instance, I still am pre-time skip in my first run, whereas my roommate, despite taking 125 hours, has finished his first run and has started his second. So so I'll be good and ready for that spoiler cast because I will have seen a good portion of the game by the time we record it.
So he's played 125 hours of the 200 hours since it's been released, or what?
Actually, he did have a week off work. He took a week off work intentionally right after it came out. So yeah, he put the equivalent of five full days plus a few hours into Fire Emblem over about a 2.5 week period to get the first ending, and then it took him 2 days to figure out which second house he was going to do.
I have to admire his dedication. I'll say that.
Yeah, he's actually the person that turned me onto the series in the first place. So, and he's the one who screamed at me when I got the Fire Emblem question wrong the last time we did Jeopardy.
Well, it's I own Fire Emblem Awakening. I've played a little bit, but that is all of my Fire Emblem experience to date. So this version for me was actually I would call it my first real foray into Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
I finished the Golden Deer run at, I think it took me about 50 hours. And now I've started the Black Eagles on New Game Plus. And I'm enjoying the benefits from doing the New Game Plus on the new run. So I don't think it's going to take me 50 hours for this one. But
yeah, especially not if you go down the road that I've heard of. Because I started with Black Eagles. My roommate went Blue Lions to start. And one of our mutual friends actually went and did Golden Deer, so we had all three routes going at the same time locally. And
that's good.
And
getting a good mix.
Yeah, and I think the only reason it took 125 hours because he didn't want to get spoiled by any of like the Fire Emblem wikis, but he really wanted to make sure that he was building his characters properly. So he was like snapshotting everything and putting the game down so he could make notes about who learned what when.
Well, that's real dedication for you right there.
Yeah.
I think my big focus was getting the support. So with Blythe, I think I ended up with 21 folks on my team between all of the recruiting. I managed to get A rank for all 21. So I've seen everyone's support for the most part. There's a few I didn't quite get to recruit before the split, and then I ended up S ranking with Dorothea, I guess would be the way to pronounce it.
Dorothea,
yeah, and ended up choosing her. So.
We were curious as to what the one that only had the S rank was. So the S rank that I saw so far was Sothis.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it's interesting, but it led to the ending of we'll probably talk about it in a couple of weeks, but Byleth ends up with an unexpected job. Let's put it that way.
I can just imagine. Well, why don't you start us off with the game that was taking up your time from Fire Emblem the past couple weeks?
So the main thing that I was working on the last couple weeks, aside from watching Three Houses runs, was Pillars of Eternity, the Obsidian developed versus Evil published computer RPG that was recently ported to Switch. There's a really good game there, but it's a bit of a technical problem. Like I had a couple of crashes, what we call crash to desktop, where basically, the game there was an error, the game will now close. Getting that, which is not something you expect to see in a Switch game. And also, if you check the review, there's a couple of screenshots of the text going absolutely haywire, which apparently they are working on, but it's like even like the saving text isn't immune from this thing.
That's crazy. Did they do their own port, or did they have a company working on that?
The publisher, I think, had a company working on that. Obsidian, I think, is more right now focused on Outer Worlds, which is coming to Switch, which I think got announced since the last show. And also Pillars of Eternity 2, which is coming to consoles, including Switch, later this year.
Okay. Yeah, I've had kind of mixed feelings with the CRPGs on Switch. The last one I played would have been Wasteland 2.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that one, but it definitely had some optimization issues. Like there was definitely a feeling of like, man, this thing is hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad for the most part. The game ran well. It's just the weird text things and those random crashes that were the big technical concerns. But once you get past all that, the game runs perfectly fine. It's just, I think this is a problem with putting these CRPGs on consoles to begin with, because you don't have as many buttons as you normally would with like a keyboard.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about what you thought of the UI.
Yeah, I mean, most of the UI was good, but there were a few times where like I would get into a battle, it would be over, and then suddenly, because normally you have control of your entire party at once and you just have a selected character, but they would sort of become decoupled from the main character, and so the rest of the party would just stand there.
Oh, jeez.
So, and I'm like hitting every button, like, okay, how do I get my guys back?
Yeah.
Yeah, not the way I like to do that with my party, especially when I'm trying to clean out a catacomb and it's like, oh, there's an enemy over here, and then there's an enemy over here that, oh God, my party's not moving. What do I do?
And have you played this? Is this your first time with Pillars of Eternity, or have you played it with on a previous console?
This is my first time with it. This is actually one. I think Pillars is actually one of the first CRPGs of this type that I've actually played. Though I am kind of intrigued to maybe check out Icewind Dale when it comes out this fall on Switch.
Yeah, because they got the Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. Like, there's going to be a whole lot of these games coming out. I can't remember. I think they've got set dates for them, like basically over the next few months. I think.
Yeah, I think they start coming out in September. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and September is going to be the month of RPGs. The month of lost hours, let me tell you.
Yeah, that September is just going to... The end of the summer is going to be absolutely insane between all those CRPGs, Link's Awakening and Dragon Quest.
Oh, man. It's already scaring me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, I guess, technical limitations aside, you still enjoyed Pillars?
Yeah, it's very intriguing storyline, and there's a lot of content in there because they threw in the 2 expansions from the PC version. Those are in this Switch version, which is part of the reason why it's, I think, $50 Canadian.
Oh,
so it's
a few bucks.
It's a bit pricey, but it's a good shot once they iron out the technical issues. I think the publisher they're taking feedback as to things to work on in a patch for that, so they can get that out the door, and Obsidian can, like I said, focus on stuff like Outer Worlds and PoE 2.
Yeah, there's definitely that trade-off with CRPGs, because I like the idea of having it portable, like for Wasteland 2 in particular. There's so much content and so many hours that you can put into something like that having it portable is definitely a benefit. Yeah, but the trade-off with the controls and the graphics, I'm not really that, like, personally I'm not that concerned about frames per second or the way it looks or that sort of thing, but as long as the experience isn't
hampered,
cut off by the knees or hampered, then it's not so bad. So, but as a general rule, I think it's more of a case by case thing for me. Like, you kind of have to see how bad it is to see if it's worth that portability. And Obsidian, it's also the same with Obsidian. I've kind of had an on and off relationship with Obsidian because I enjoyed their first game there, the Knights of the Old Republic 2, but Fallout New Vegas was actually one of my least favorite Fallouts.
That's weird, because that's the one that most of my friends seem to enjoy the most is New Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the time I was playing it or something, but
yeah,
I don't know.
And it's all New Vegas is really the first time that I ran into the concept of Obsidian makes great games, but they have trouble getting those bugs squashed before it comes out, which I think ended up costing them a lot of money, and that's part of the reason why Pillars of Eternity went to Kickstarter in the first place.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, because they infamously lost a Metacritic bonus by 1 point from Bethesda on New Vegas.
Oh, that's gotta hurt. At that point, you think you'd just be calling up your friends
and well, that's effectively what they did, and they got 77,000 of their closest friends to help them out with Pillars of Eternity.
Exactly. Oh,
and they never let you forget that in the opening of the game. It's an
really?
It's an unskippable screen. This game was made possible by 77,000 people on Kickstarter.
Do they name them all?
I'm pretty sure they will in the credits, but I kind of skipped past those. So it's an unskippable splash screen saying this game was crowdfunded.
Yeah, that would be one long end credits if they named everybody. But good on them if they tried.
Yeah. Although, I mean, the text in that game is pretty big, but I'm pretty sure if they shrank it down enough, they could probably get everybody on there in about under, an Ubisoft length credit.
Yeah. There was a game, I'm trying to think of a game. There's a game I just played. It's probably like Smash Brothers or something, where there's like a game in the end credits where you're like shooting all the names.
That sounds like Smash Ultimate, yeah.
Yeah, that must be it. I thought that was kind of interesting way to do it, because it's like if you got that many names and you kind of want to see people, then they have to do a little mini game where you're literally shooting the names, so you have to see them. So I have to give them credit for having that nice idea. So, but to go from one port to another that has its own technical difficulties, we'll go with Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden. So I think I actually talked about this game on the Thirsty Mage last year when it first came out on PC. So the way I like to describe this is it's basically Mario Rabbids with a mature rating. So it's kind of the same XCOM tactics strategy. So you're running around in third person. You have a party that you're controlling. So it's a mutant duck, a mutant boar, and I guess she's a mutant human. Like she's looks human but has mutant powers as well. And it's set in a post-apocalyptic world, and just launched on Switch July 30th. So it almost made that August release window there. But it was actually one of my top 2018 games. I enjoyed it that much. Like it plays the same battle mechanics where so again, you're running around in the world, and then when you come across the enemies, it kind of puts you into battle mode, where it turns the environment into a grid based system, and you essentially have action points to choose when to move, when to shoot. You have different weapons that you can use on the fly. You have projectiles like grenades and Molotov cocktails and that sort of thing. And on top of that, you have like your Overwatch and the mutant powers that you can use. And the premise of the story is that there's like one settlement that on an oil rig that where there's like one main engineer that kind of keeps the place running, and he's gone missing. And so this group of three is trying to find him in kind of the wasteland where all the ghouls live. And essentially you're just shooting your way through, trying to basically tracking this guy down to find out what's going on, and stuff happens along the way. And it's like I said, it's very, very fun game. Played it on PC, and it came to Switch, but it's not the same. There's a lot of give and take here to get it onto a portable device. First and foremost is I don't know if I can even play this on portable. The resolution has dropped so badly. I was joking that I felt like I had spilled Vaseline on the front of my Switch. It was that blurry.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like it's tough. Actually, there's items that you can actually collect in the environment, and I was like walking over them not realizing that they were there, because there's like scraps and weapons to pick up and stuff, and it's very, very difficult to actually see them in portable mode.
And the game just doesn't auto pick them up for you. That seems a little odd.
Yeah, no, there's the one thing they do is that there's kind of a little light. It's kind of illuminated, but it's not in portable mode, not enough that you're like, oh, there it is. Like you almost, like I said, almost have to walk over it to kind of notice. And then when you actually are standing on it, there's like a little text that pops up that says like what it is, like common scrap or weapon part. And yeah, it was tough playing in portable. But then in dock mode, it's playable. It's like it looks better. You can kind of see things. It's still, I guess my biggest complaint is that you can tell that it was designed to be detailed, but not detailed enough even in docked mode for the Switch. Like you can tell that there was a downgrade, and it's still hard to, like, it's easier to see the items you can pick up, but it's still not great. Now, I personally didn't have, like, it never crashed on me like the crash to desktop.
Yeah.
But Perry had picked this up as well, and he said he was really enjoying it. He was telling me about how much fun he was having, but he had multiple crashes to desktop.
Ooh.
So much so that he's like, maybe I'll just wait to see if there's an update. So talking to him the other day, though, he wondered if it was a heat issue, because he said a lot of it, like when it was crashing, he could tell that there was, like, the Switch is really hot, and I don't know if he like put a fan on it or something, but he was having better luck keeping it cool. So but yeah, he's having a real fun time playing it as well. So it's one of those games, like, I think it's worth playing, but if you've got a PC that can handle it, like if you asked me like the portable versus graphical, I would have to go with the PC version on this one. But if all you've got is a Switch and you're looking for something like that, it's definitely worth playing.
Yeah, I'm looking at your review there, and yeah, that's. I didn't get very far into Mario and Rabbids, and a more like an M-rated version of that doesn't hit my buttons, but I'll definitely. I'll put it. I'll at least put it on the list here. Maybe it'll get optimized a little bit better. Same with this. Hopefully, their publisher is as on the ball as the Pillars of Eternity publisher seems like it will be.
Yep. From what I guess Perry actually reached out to them, and they had said that they were working on like some updates and optimizations. So it's the publisher is Funcom, and I believe the dev is called Bearded Ladies. Pretty like I hadn't heard of them before, so but hopefully they do look at it and see if there's some improvements that can be made because. Like I said, it's a real fun game. There's a lot of strategy. It's on the more difficult side too. Like Mario Rabbids, you could kind of power your way through in a kind of run and gun, but this one a lot more strategy is needed to move forward. So yeah, it's pretty fun. I enjoyed. There's a whole lot of puns that they use that I enjoy, especially using the word duck. So.
Mm-hmm.
I had a fun time with that. I think it's well written and it's a engaging story. So
I wonder if they're using that in place of another word that ends in UCK.
multiple times. So that'll bring me to the next game that's available on RPGs, which is I'm currently playing it for review now. It's called Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark. So this I don't think this is a port. I'm pretty sure.
It is available on at least PC. I know some of my colleagues on an RPG focused website have already reviewed this, but
Okay.
I believe it is. If it's not on the other console already, it will be soon.
Yeah. So this one, not too far into it, a few hours in, but this is actually like it really feels like Final Fantasy Tactics. It plays almost identical to it, really. So there's essentially there's a world map. And there's places on the world map, and as you go, you end up in battles. And the battles take place on an isometric map with different elevations, different environmental. Like there'll be rocks that'll kind of block your path, so take up squares, so you can kind of use those to your advantage. And you have a party of warriors that are basically, you just move them around, and it's the same thing. They have different weapons like axes and knives and magical powers. And the way it works, so the story, the kind of overview of the story would be is that there was this chaos was in the world, and this great big monster almost extinguished life. But these group of people called the Immortals, they managed to kill the monster and then install kind of like a justice system. And there's kind of like this, I don't know, like the Supreme Court, I guess, where these they're called the Immortals. They kind of govern as the justice system, and they're basically the judges, and then the people that kind of do the grunt work are called the arbiters, and they essentially are like just go out into the world and are the judge, jury, and executioners, and they see laws being broken, and they're supposed to be taking care of business.
This sounds an awful lot like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Yeah.
In all actuality, but I know it's not. But it just the concept of laws in a tactical RPG is already giving me hives.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, when you're actually like in the battle, like I just recently played Final Fantasy Tactics, which I'll bring up in a bit. But yeah, just like as soon as I started playing it, I'm like, man, this is real, getting some real Final Fantasy Tactics vibes here. It plays just like it in this to a certain degree. So they're good and bad. I mean, I enjoyed Final Fantasy Tactics and the way it works, so it's kind of neat there. But when at the same time, it's like, why not just play Final Fantasy Tactics?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I like I said, I'm not too far in. I mean, the story is pretty engaging. The way that the Immortals work is that when one retires, there's kind of like a competition to see who will replace the person who retires, and that's kind of where the game begins. Is that one of them has acknowledged his intention to retire, and they've just started the competition, and there's a lot of political intrigue going on, and so the story is keeping me engaged. But the battle systems right now, it's still early, so I don't want to cast judgment on it yet, but the battle system's kind of losing me a little bit. So I'm hoping that maybe the deeper I get in, the more complex it becomes, and maybe engages me a bit more. So I'm hoping for that. So
Yeah, and just to correct it here, Fell Seal came out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One at the end of April, like
cool.
April 30th. So it's a few months behind as opposed to like a year or two, which
Okay.
which I can understand given that they would have to do some optimization to get that running at a decent clip on Switch.
Yeah, and it's so far no problems. The art style's not exactly my cup of tea. Kind of like trying to think of some examples because it kind of gives that mobile Flash vibe, like the Clash of like not Clash, like it's the sprites are a little bit bigger than like the Clash of Clans, but it's kind of that art look to it, like the cartoony look, I guess, like a Fortnite-y cartoon look. So it's, I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, only a couple hours in, so I don't want to turn anyone off yet, but we'll see how it goes. So we have an upcoming RPG not available yet for the summer, but it will be soon. And Donald, I believe you played the demo for it. Oninaki.
Oninaki, yeah. So that'll be out. They've updated the date to a week. We're recording this on the 14th, and it's scheduled to come out on the 21st. There was a 10% deal, I believe, or 10% off deal on the eShop for a bit. That ended, and then they restarted it. So you can get a slight discount if this comes out before the game does. It is an action RPG from Tokyo RPG Factory that I'm not sure that I'm not going to be able to play, having played the demo.
Okay.
The themes in that game are they let's just say they heavily involve death, as in your main character decides to randomly kill a pair of parents in the first 30 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah, the concept of that game is all right, but it's was triggering. Like, I've had treatment off and on for depression for the better part of a decade, and there's certain games I just can't finish because of that. One of them is Persona 3, and Oninaki is going to be another one.
Okay, one of those ones that kicks in the feels, I guess. Eh?
Yeah, like right after that scene, I was playing the Switch handheld, and I just put it down in my room. It was like, are you all right? So yeah, it's a technically very fine. It's a very solid game. That's never been an issue with stuff that Tokyo RPG Factory has done. They've never. It's just right now you need to have stronger stuff than I do to be able to probably play that game beyond the first 30 minutes of what the demo gives you. So
Yeah.
definitely check that out. Grab the demo if you have any interest in the game. Your progress will carry over. There's some neat systems in there, and see if you can handle the plot, because
Yeah.
I couldn't.
So action RPG, you said?
Yeah, it's like it's like sort of hybrid of Zelda combat with with like the enemies have hit points and things like that.
Okay, so you're still kind of running around and
You're
hacking and slashing, I guess. Eh?
Yeah, you're running around hacking, slashing, and sort of doing the jump between worlds like you would see in A Link to the Past. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
you're traveling between the realm of the living and the realm of the dead as a character who's trying to help help people not mourn and let their souls reincarnate.
Okay. Have you played any of the previous Tokyo RPG? Like, I keep wanting to get into them, but then every time one comes out, I keep you kind of hear bad things, and then I get discouraged and don't bother.
I actually the first game I ever got for review for the Switch was I Am Setsuna, which was their first game.
Okay.
And I played that through mostly to the end. That one had a weird issue where the text would randomly pop up in French for some reason, which I didn't mind it, but I'm pretty sure there was somebody out there that would.
Yeah.
So, and that game was depressing in of itself, but that's because it was entirely set in the winter. and I
Okay.
started playing that game like the day the Switch came out. So you can imagine what I was like with Winter at that point.
Yeah.
I played the demo of Lost Sphere. It didn't really click with me, which you would think I'd be all over like a Chrono Trigger style RPG, but it just wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
So
And were they turn based? Both of those?
yeah, they were turn based with like with combat or with battles that would occur on the map. So your
Okay.
positioning would
Oh,
play a
so I
role
get
with it. Yeah.
The Chrono Trigger vibe there.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this new one is straight action. There's no jumping to a menu. You're just in there hacking away.
Okay.
And
That's cool.
yeah, and I actually got a chance to talk to the developers at E3, and one of the leads on this game actually worked on Kid Icarus Uprising,
Oh yeah.
and they said that they got some ideas for the loot system for Oninaki from Kid Icarus. Which if you played that game, that Kid Icarus had an insane loot system. So I would not be shocked that that they would go down that road with Oninaki, because there's not only your own weapons, but you can pick up sort of sub spirits in the world as well, and
Okay.
they can build their own experience, and you can also try to recover their memories as well.
Hmm. Yeah, the concept was interesting to me, but and like I said, I've always wanted to get into the Tokyo RPG games, but I think again this is probably going to be another one that I end up waiting to see kind of what the overall game ends up being. I think Jordan will be doing the review for that one, so maybe I'll hold off and see what he thinks. But I always like to support Square, so uh,
Yeah, and
and if this is the last bastion of turn based, well, I guess even this one's not even a turn based, but I want to keep the Tokyo RPG Factory open because maybe one day they'll come up with a turn based that I actually enjoy. So,
yeah,
and Square seems reluctant to go back to the turn based. So this is kind of the last hope, I think.
yeah. It gives them a chance to stretch out into more formats. Like I'd be interested in seeing what they would do with like with a Final Fantasy Tactics style, tactical RPG.
Yeah, and it's I mean they may go there too. Like if they've already went from turn based to an action RPG, it certainly could be in the cards. So
Yeah, it's just that they're priced as retail games. Like I think it's $50 US, but they the retail copies are extremely limited. Like I have a friend who
hmm.
has a copy of Lost Sphere, and to this day, she doesn't know how they got a physical copy of that, because I believe it was exclusive to Square Enix's online store in Europe.
Well, I'll be worth something one day then.
Yeah, unless it was like unless somebody bought it off the North American store and then traded it in somewhere. That's how they got it. But
Hmm.
yeah, I like those games are good, but they go on sale frequently, and definitely wait for a sale,
Yeah.
because
Well, that's the other thing with Oninaki is as I'm thinking like we've got with just the way that it's coming out at the end of August and then we'll be like nailed with September RPGs that by the time I kind of get around to having time to play and probably like November December I'm hoping maybe for a sale by then. Uh,
yeah, they're
and
usually
then I guess with Pokemon coming out in November, it might be like January by the time I actually get around to it.
yeah. Square tends to do there might be something as far as a sale goes around Black Friday. If not, there probably will be one early in the new year.
Yeah, and like Square at least it does at least two a year because I always pick up stuff for my old Vita when the sales come around, so I always keep my eye out on those.
Yeah, don't
Mm.
don't get Vita. Great system, but man, I wish it could have lasted longer.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Vita games, I wanted just to mention that this is not new. I wanted to prepare myself for tactics games, so I actually did purchase Final Fantasy Tactics for the Vita. It was the War of the Lions version.
That came out originally on the PSP. Yeah, that I think that
Yep.
was actually if it wasn't the first PSP game I ever bought when I finally got one of those, it was the second.
Okay. I have a PSP, but I never I never picked that one up, but got it on the Vita, and I think actually like it kind of accomplished what I wanted it to do, where it kind of got me back in that tactics frame of mind. Didn't get too far into it really. I think I put a couple hours in, but I was enjoying what I had, but I think I'm kind of tactics out at this point, so I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
Going back to it
but
for a while.
after 50 hours of Fire Emblem, yeah, I'd be tactics out too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still got lots of Fell Steel, and I intend to put many more hours into Fire Emblem, so this might be the end of tactics for 2019 for me when all this is done. So
Yeah, it was one of the first games I bought on the PSP. I had the original version, and I remember reading in the strategy guide like how you could get Cloud from FF7 in the game.
oh
But
yeah.
the main thing that everyone has told me is that the calculator class is absolutely insane if you can get it to work right. So if you sit down with a spreadsheet, you can basically break the game in half with calculators because they're the ones who are focused on like level 3, level 4, level 5 multiple spells. And I think you can actually. I wonder if they have. I'm trying to remember if they have skills if you let you manipulate the level of the opponent so that they can be blasted with like level 2 flare or whatever.
Yeah, I remember hearing about I guess it was there was a recent Retronauts that was talking about Final Fantasy Tactics. I think that's what kind of got me on that boat, and yeah, I remember hearing them talk about the calculator class and hearing the same thing. I didn't know about the Cloud though. That'd be pretty interesting to get
You had
Cloud into that game.
Yeah, he's in a very late game dungeon. Like he's the hidden objective for that. But by the time I think you get him, you've pretty much got an end game party at that point and can blitz the last bit of it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Final Fantasy, why don't you take us home, Donald, with your last recommendation for what we should be playing in the summer?
Okay. Well, this is more of my own personal white whale because the main thing that I was playing prior to Fire Emblem coming out was actually Final Fantasy X via the Switch remaster that came out in April. Because when I first got first played Final Fantasy X, it was like 2004. My roommate at the time had a PS2, so I finally got to play that, and I was looking on game FAQs for something like trying to find something like an Albert Primer maybe. And I'm going through the list of FAQs, and there's this one FAQ called Penance. Like, what the heck is that? I click into it. It is a 12 million hit point super boss that got added for the European and the Japanese international versions of the game that North America didn't get until these remasters came out.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm sitting there looking at this boss that I will never be able to beat this. But
Yeah.
the amount of preparation that this FAQ goes into is absolutely insane. And then the remasters come out, and then it comes out on, because I got the game on Vita, put a little bit into it, just fell off. But this time I finally had the chance to do a file from the start with the specific goal of beating Penance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've played more Blitzball I played most of my Blitzball on the plane to and from LA for E3.
Yep.
Because Lord knows that flight from Halifax to Los Angeles is about 9 hours.
Oh, God.
So,
It's like my worst nightmare.
yeah, and I'm actually thinking of doing it next year for PAX West, help Jordan
Oh,
out.
man.
But yeah, so I I did enough Blitzball. I got everybody's ultimate weapon but Lulu's because that involves lightning dodging, and lightning dodging can bite my you know what. Like I'm not going to sit there and do 200 dodges of lightning. No way. I can build that weapon anyway. So I got those, and now I'm working on getting all of the spheres that I need to build up the sphere grid to get the stat build I want, and then I have to build the armor that I want, which is going to involve beating up the dark Aeons that they added to the game, specifically the dark version of Yojimbo, because he spawns 5 times, and I can force him to respawn until he drops the armor that I want. And then I'm going to take on the rest of the Dark Aeons and this 12 million hit point super boss. So I'm anticipating finishing that sometime, hopefully before the end of this year. And if I get to the point of Penance and I have a free weekend, I will probably stream my beating of Penance. because literally he has an attack if you let it get off that does 10 million hit points of damage. And the HP cap, even with the ability to break the HP limit that the Final Fantasy X introduced, you still cap out at 1 point short of 100,000.
Well, I hope you got lots of space on your hard drive to when you start recording that.
That is about a 40. Like most people have timed that boss fight at 45 minutes if you don't do the cheap summoning trick to one shot kill
Oh, it's nuts. It reminds me of I don't know if you played Final Fantasy 15. I did everything except for I did all the hunts except for the final one, which is I believe it's the Adamantoise, where there's like a mountain in the game that apparently is the turtle.
Yeah.
Like there's something I remember reading about that, and they're like there's a way to kind of engage the turtle, and the mountain in the game literally stands up and starts beating on you. And I've heard some wild times. Like I was reading one, like when it first came out, there's this one guy who was saying it took him 40 actual hours, like real time hours, to beat the boss. And I'm like, no way. Like I don't know the stats on that on the Adamantoise itself, but like again the same concept where the HP is just ridiculous. And I think the lowest I saw was but like just short of 2 hours, I think, from the one I saw.
Jeez.
But
And I thought Yasmat from 12 was bad
yeah,
because
yeah.
he's the one who not only has 50 million hit points in a game with the damage where there's no way to break the 9999 damage limit, but he also will randomly at one point in the battle make it so that his damage cap is just 7,000. And if you run away, he has regen. So good luck with that.
Yeah, there's just some challenges that I've just resigned that I can't do. I actually started the Adamantoise one, and I got thumped pretty good. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Well,
I was,
it doesn't seem so bad. I'm looking at his stats and he's like 5.6 million hit points. So I'm trying to figure out how you can get to the point that you need to do 2 hours or 2 days or whatever to do it.
yeah, I can't. I don't know if it regens or if there was something where it like gives itself a shell or something. But it might have been too that it was like this was pretty close right after release, so maybe people just hadn't figured it out yet. But I know there was like the guy who was doing it in like about an hour, between 1 and 2 hours. They showed like the build that you needed for the party, and I was like, this is a lot of work. And I just watched the guy beat it on YouTube, so I'm like, I'm good. I got the gist. So I mean, I it would have been fun to do it, but I don't know if I have the attention span to be that put that much work into it. So.
Yeah, because if I get into a Final Fantasy, like if I really get into a Final Fantasy, I will go for the super bosses. I have beaten both Emerald and Ruby Weapon in FF10, or sorry,
Okay.
FF7.
Yeah.
So I have done those. I think when the remaster comes out, I might try to go after Omega, who's got like 1 million hit points, which isn't too bad. But knowing Square, they'll probably add something even stupider in there. And yeah, and I've never gotten far enough in 9 that I'd worried about Necron. So yeah, 10. So Penance seems to be in that sweet spot of I can do this. It's just the build that I want to do for it involves having broken HP limit max, 99,999 for HP,
Mhm.
which you need about 300 spheres of HP to get. Not just clearing the ones that are there, but then you have to put in a whole bunch as well. So I have to beat up one boss in the in-game monster arena. I want to say about 150 times to get all those spheres.
I admire your dedication.
Yeah, and then I got to go through and get and so once that's done, then I have to get like I think I've got enough to do 255 in like strength, defense, magic defense, accuracy and evasion. The other tricky one is getting luck, because there's some of the enemies you fight along the way that have insane luck stats, which affect both accuracy and evasion in FF10.
Yeah.
So
Well,
so
as long as you're still having fun, that's
yeah,
the important thing.
it's having that goal that helps, which is I need to beat this thing, and then I will make Lulu's ultimate weapon, and that will be the end of it.
Yeah.
At least I don't have to. At least I'm not playing on a PlayStation platform where I have achievements to worry about.
Yeah. So you'd rank Final Fantasy X high on your list of Final Fantasies?
It's pretty high on my own personal list,
Yeah.
but it's mostly like a lot of what I look at in these kind of games is how is like the battle system. Story seems to be secondary for me,
Yeah.
because I mean I've flamed out of 8 around the time of Estar, but
Okay. Yeah.
along the way I had fun with like, oh, I have 4,000 hit points and we're not even through the first disc yet.
Yeah. I love breaking. There's so many things to break in 8, like with like collecting the magic, whatever, to boost your points, or
Yeah, the
uh,
abusing the junction system, like junction, like getting all this Kiraga, junction it to hit points, and
yeah,
suddenly your hit points are like you've like octupled your hit points for early in the game.
yeah,
You never die.
and yeah, exactly. And then once you've got the Ragnarok, to head out to the Island of Evil, the west. I think it's the island of. It's
Islands,
either the Island of Hell or the Island
I
of
think,
Heaven. I can't
like
remember which
island. I
one.
think there's like island closest to heaven, island closest to hell, which have
Yeah,
all
it's
these
the
really rare magics on them that you can draw.
yeah, and if you go to the western one, which I think is the island closest to Hell, the enemies there are singular. Like there's only when you run into random battles, there's only ever one enemy. And with Quintus's I don't remember what the special is called, but if you have her hit points down where you automatically get the special, she has the one where she banishes the enemy to another dimension, so it's like a one-hit kill, and you can get to level 99 within like an hour.
Although in a game that scales the enemy hit points based on your level, why would you want to?
Yeah, well, I guess it
Yeah,
was pretty easy finishing the game though.
yeah. I'm just picturing, like, because I know the Omega fight's a fixed amount of hit points, but I'm just trying to picture what the final boss would be with a level 99 party. I'm assuming it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've played that one. I'm looking forward to when that eventually comes out
Yeah.
in the next few months. I believe.
Mm.
I think it's pretty soon because it got the ESRB rating, I think.
Yeah. I just, one thing I would do if I was remastering that game, I would set it so that you could have 2 sets of magic in, like, one that you would junction and then one for actual use, because I do like using magic in these games, but Final Fantasy VIII heavily discourages it because you are crippling your stats every time you cast a spell
Yeah, exactly.
if you've got it. Yeah, and the limit break is a degenerator on the that you want
Yeah.
to use on the island closest to hell.
Yep, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to that. I'm not expecting too many changes based on what we've seen so far. I guess the script for them is essentially just add in a speed modifier, add in the max health and the max attacks, and
Yeah,
more or less leave the rest for you. Some graphical changes and
they fixed the face in the dancing scene. I think that clip showed up today.
yeah, I saw that hit Twitter. I was liking and retweeting a lot because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, and I think though what I've learned with these remasters is I will play them once on Switch, and then the next time I'm going to play them on PC, because then I can cheat the hell out of them.
Yep.
Like,
I've always wanted to try some with mods. I've seen some interesting FF7 mods that I want to give a try, but I just I don't know if it's just time or will, but I need to give one a try one of these days.
yeah, I just what I want to do at one point is just have a Final Fantasy X run where I've got all this stuff in my inventory from the start of the game, and just
Yeah.
to see how fast I can blitz the main game and those super bosses.
Mm.
Because
I was,
it'll still be a 45-minute fight against Penance, but it won't take me 190 hours to get there.
that's right. Will it feel as sweet when you beat him though?
Yeah, probably. Especially if I can do it with under 50 hours on the clock or whatever.
I guess that's the thing is the reward is the time that you've given yourself.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, it's looking like Jordan never found that sugar drink for tonight's event, so
I think somebody in the family got a hold of it, but I think he'll
that's right.
he'll he'll want to say that Dragon Quest Builders 2 really good, but
Yeah,
just watch that text size. It's apparently quite small on Switch.
yeah. Well, it's funny. Casey, we almost had Casey, and we almost had Jordan, and they're both of them were the Dragon Quest Builders 2 cheerleading fan club for that one. So unfortunately, I mean, we talked a lot about Square stuff, so they were represented. So no worries about Square, but Dragon Quest Builders might have got the short end of the stick this week. But another summer RPG, if that's your thing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we'll have more talk about Dragon Quest in September or October, I guess, after 11 comes out.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll definitely be talking about that. So yeah, and so the next episode, like I said, it'll probably be 2 weeks from now, and it'll be Fire Emblem Three Houses. It'll be a spoiler cast, and I can already tell you from the heated debates we're already having that it's going to be a hot one. So
And we had an article go up on the site today from Matthew, who's our main Fire Emblem fanatic, who that basically talks about elements of the main character in that game. I think a lot of us are going to have some disagreements on that based on what we've seen in the other routes.
yep, yeah, it's already began. It's just not recorded yet. So we'll have lots of, and I think we might even split it into a couple groups because like I said, we have so many people and so many varying opinions that I think the more people we have, the better, because it's a big game. I think it's for Switch, it's definitely one of the better titles this year. Like even with some of the different aspects that we'll get into later, I think it's one of those games that's worth getting if you've got a Switch. So it'll be interesting to hear the different opinions on it, though. I mean, it depends whether your story is a big thing for you or the battle is the most important. I think there will be a lot of debates around like choices and the developers made and just personal taste and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a fun discussion.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Donald, for coming out tonight with me for an episode to discuss all the different options that the folks have for playing an RPG on our Switch.
And we didn't even mention the stuff that came up previously, like Final Fantasy. Well, we briefly mentioned FF12 and Dragons. I'll throw another shout out for Dragon's Dogma, even if it seems to have been largely forgotten at this point.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too. That's another one I wanted to pick up, but because it came during the tidal wave of Final Fantasy ports, that I just passed it by, unfortunately. Even Final Fantasy X, I still haven't gotten around to because I played 7, reviewed 9, or what did it? No, I reviewed 7, reviewed 12, played 9, reviewed X or 10-2, but haven't had a chance to get to 10 yet. So it's in my backlog, the ever growing backlog.
Yeah, and having 200 odd hours of Fire Emblem's not helping that in any way.
No, and the upcoming 100 plus hours, I'm sure, for Dragon Quest 11 is not helping things either. So
Dragon Quest 11, all those never, the collection of Dungeons and Dragons themed RPGs we're getting this fall and winter.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way I'm not gonna have to at least play one. So. And then you got Pokemon coming in November, and it's just it's gonna be an RPG heavy 2019.
And that's the mage will be bouncing.
Yeah, exactly.
Might have to get
the taps will be flowing.
Might have to get the fire marshal in there to make sure we have the good capacity for it.
That's right. We might have to put a second floor in the mage, fit everyone in. So alrighty, well like Don was saying, if you want to check out some initial thoughts about Fire Emblem, Matt's got an article up about the main protagonist on NintendoWorldReport.com. The initial review is up there as well if you want to check that out, as well as some a video review of it on our YouTube channel on WRTV. And yeah, if you want to check out, I've also got the Mutant Year Zero review up on Nintendo World Report as well. Dragon Quest Builders, I believe Jordan reviewed that, so if you wanted to get some information on that. Donald has his demo, has a written article about the Oninaki demo. So lots to read about all these things if you're. Oh, and Donald's Pillars of Eternity review is up as well.
Yeah.
I believe, right?
That's...
Yep. So if anyone is looking for more detailed information about anything we've talked about, I think almost everything's there. And Felsteel will probably be up, if not probably shortly after this comes out. So it's all at NintendoWorldReport.com if you want to read up on some more. All right. Well, thanks again, Donald, and we'll see everyone on the next Thirsty Mage.
Bye.